Have you ever felt like something was off, but couldn't quite put your finger on it? Like your choices weren't really your own? Like a quiet force was guiding your steps, shaping your reactions, pulling strings in silence? You thought you were being kind. You thought you were being understanding. But deep down, something felt wrong, and you couldn't explain why. Maybe you gave a favor you didn't want to give. Maybe you agreed when you knew you were right. Maybe you trusted someone who later revealed a side you never expected. This isn't a coincidence. This is design. Whether you realize it or not, you are being manipulated by those close to you, by the media you consume, by the people who know exactly how to play the subtle mechanics of your mind. And the worst part? You think you're making your own decisions. Niccolo Machiavelli saw it centuries ago. Power doesn't always wear a crown. Often, it wears a smile. Its strongest weapon isn't violent, but emotional leverage. This video is not here to comfort you. It's here to arm you, to hand you the lens. Machiavelli himself used to dissect human nature, a lens so sharp it cuts through every illusion. Because the one who doesn't understand manipulation is condemned to be shaped by it, and the one who refuses to see their own weakness will be ruled by those who do. You don't need a villain to be controlled. You just need to be unaware. But today, that ends. Welcome to the art of seeing clearly, of thinking independently, of living untouchable. Manipulation doesn't always come dressed in threat. It often arrives wearing charm. A soft voice, a kind look that says, "I understand you." And that's precisely why it works. The most dangerous form of control is the one that convinces you that you are free. It whispers instead of shouting, asks instead of commanding, and always makes sure you think the decision was yours. Machiavelli understood this. He never romanticized human nature. He studied the mechanics beneath the surface, the levers of desire, fear, guilt, and approval that truly move men. Have you ever noticed how some people always seem to get what they want? They don't raise their voice. They don't demand. They don't threaten. They just steer. They read the room. They read you. They pay attention to things. Most people overlook the hesitation in your tone, the insecurity in your laugh, the need in your eyes, when you're trying not to need. And once they understand your internal wiring, they never pull, they only suggest. And somehow, you do exactly what they hoped you would. You think it's your idea, but it was theirs all along. This isn't magic. It's calculation, a learned skill, one that Machiavelli admired, not because it was noble, but because it was effective. He respected power through subtlety, not force. The battlefield of manipulation is not out there. It's not in the conversations you have, not in the decisions you make. It's inside you, in the unhealed places, the emotional gaps you never learn to see. This is the manipulator's playground. They don't invade your mind with brute force. They walk into the spaces you left, undefended spaces shaped by childhood, by shame, by years of bending just to be accepted. You're not weak. You're not naive. You're simply human. But that's exactly what makes you vulnerable. It's easy to spot manipulation when it comes from strangers. The red flags are visible. The language feels rehearsed. The intention distant. You have room to step away. But what happens when the manipulator is your mother, your partner, your best friend, the person who says they love you? This is where it becomes dangerous, because it no longer feels like control. It feels like care. They say, "I'm only doing this because I love you," and you believe them. They say, "Without you, I'm nothing," and you stay not because you're blind, but because you're loyal. You're kind. Once you see the strings, you can't unsee them. Once you understand the game, you can't keep pretending you're not in it. The only way out of manipulation is through strategy. Machiavelli never told us to stop feeling. He told us to stop being predictable. He taught us that power doesn't belong to the loud, but to the observant, the one who thinks before speaking, who listens before reacting, who plans not to hurt, but to never be hurt again. The final battle is not with the manipulator, it's with yourself. The version of you that was trained to submit, to please, to obey. The real manipulator isn't always a person. Sometimes it's a voice you internalized years ago, a belief you never questioned. Maybe it was a parent who made affection conditional. Maybe it was a teacher who praised your silence more than your spirit. Machiavelli understood this with chilling clarity. He knew that the most effective control doesn't come from power over nations. It comes from shaping beliefs, influencing perceptions, convincing a man that the cage he's in is where he belongs. You've reclaimed your mind, but don't think the world will stop trying. It never does. It only changes, masks new voices, new demands, new faces with the same old patterns. That's the nature of power. But now you know the pattern. You see the game. You feel it before it even begins. This is the true mark of someone who has stepped out of the role of puppet and into the role of strategist. Ready to take control of your mind and stop being manipulated. Subscribe now to Virtù for more insights on mastering self-awareness and living untouchable. Don't just follow the world, lead it.